Well, for that to happen, we have to tackle insecurity. At least it's one of those things that we have to tackle, honestly. Because, you know, when things are going easy in your environment, you really have no idea how tough some other people are having it. The high rate of insecurity is very disturbing, with the increasing number of kidnapping, killing of citizens, and those who are exposed to unabated attacks, breeding fear. Just Wednesday, 5 female students were kidnapped from the university, from the Federal University in Katsina State. Of course, that issue attracted the attention of the upper chamber and the National Assembly, and service chiefs were invited to find a lasting solution to the problem. Just last week, about 20 students of the Federal University in Gusau, Zamfara State, were abducted by armed bandits. 14 of them have been rescued, thankfully, by security forces. Of course, the Chibok girls' abduction is still on the table after 9 years, among others across the major government schools and so many others. A report says that gunmen have kidnapped at least 3,620 people across Nigeria between July 2022 and June 2023. Ransom demand totaled something in the region of 5 billion naira, that's about $6.5 million, according to the SBM intelligence. Let's have a conversation around these and the implications of this sustained insecurity challenges with Ambassador Oamen Roy Ohidievie, who is National Secretary, Retired Members of Nigerian Armed Forces, MNAF. He joins us from New York. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Ambassador.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure, sir.
Yeah, we also have Major General John Edenje, former Director, Army Formation. He joins us from our studio in Abuja. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, General.
Thank you for having me on your program.
Yeah. So let me begin with you, Major General, in our Abuja studio. Apparently, this will be very concerning for you as well as so many other people. It is disturbing that, you know, talking about it for us is I don't even know the words to use, because it isn't the kind of thing that we want to talk about, but these are the realities that we have to contend with. Can you give us an idea how serious the issue is, or are we just crying wolf when there isn't none? Ambassador, that's I beg your pardon.
I would say that
General, yes, go ahead.
You are not crying wolf. You are not crying wolf at all, because as it is, I would say that what you are saying is what is in the public purview. But what about the ones that are not in the public purview? Are you forgetting about the incidents in Benue, the ones cutting across the southwest, even the northeast and northwest? So it is actually not crying wolf, it is a reality on the ground. The reality that even me, while I was in active service, if you tell me that now that I'm in passive service, this security situation will be like this, I may doubt you, but that is the situation as it is now.
So, General, in that regard,
all that I can say is that
yes,
I have had cause in the recent past couple of days, to discuss with the high echelon, and we reason together. Because the information we get, as you know, I was in the Defense Media Operations coordinating the affairs, and some of the contacts are still there. The information you get now is worrisome. So it requires a whole lot of this approach, society approach, from all angles, from all sectors in this country.
Before we go to that wing, General, the question is, how come? First of all, why are these things happening, and how come we haven't been able to check them over the years, especially in recent history?
Yes. Yes, you see, if we go back to history, I am careful to say that there have been a lot of proposals, a lot of papers, a lot of researches, a lot of solutions proposed. Have we implemented them? Did we implement them? I will tell you the answer is no. Simple. One example. When we were there was this strategy of I'm going to stop using strategy from now, we'll use other terminology. Strategy of decimate, dominate, and occupy. Within a year, from 2015 to 2016, the decimation was achieved. But to dominate the environment, to be able to have the upper hand, a lot of issues came up. Challenges, not getting the required equipment, not getting the required resources, and it cuts across from the first line paramilitary that should provide this right to the military. So that is why we are seeing the deterioration amongst others. Like somehow there's lots of confidence, and the people are not coming forward. I tell you one situation, very, very painful for me. Around the locality where I stay, I didn't believe that this could even spread. I live in Gwarimpa, which some people will call a very highbrow place in Abuja, and the thing spread there. 5 years ago, it wasn't so. 3 years ago. So what I'm saying is that we have not been able, as a people, to follow up, action plan, what we should do from one state to the other. At a point, maybe after the first stage, second stage is abandoned, is terminated, for several reasons best known to people who are supposed to handle it. That is why you see this deterioration. And again, the lack of confidence in the whole system.
We'll come to the confidence part.
To bring the relevant information.
My apologies, we'll come to the confidence part. But there is also hush-hush in some quarters that some of these things, these insecurity issues that we're having, a good number of them are not unknown. But there are political considerations. There are other sentimental or parochial considerations, like ethnic considerations, religious considerations, political considerations. If that is true, how significant are they, and why is it such a problem?
Yes, it is natural for a human being. When you talk about the political consideration, that one is because what I will even want to say is, I believe that there's supposed to be political security. That is why that consideration is there. That is why, you see, when there is no political security, that is why I linked it up to the loss of confidence. Now, when you talk about religious aspect, yes, people can be, begin to be brainwashed and become biased. What is real, they will now align it with religious consideration, religious focus, which is not true. So that is why you see it spreading. But the reality is that the people who perpetuate these acts, they take advantage of all these negatives and continue to perpetuate their negatives, which is insecurity, kidnapping, banditry, and all manner of things. So that is why it's still there, because the population we have, like you and me, probably you call us the elites, the people that are educated and understand, what is the assessment of our population in this country. Majority are people who are illiterates or semi-illiterates, who they just wait for the so-called opinion leaders to come and talk to them or not even talk to them. And they use their own low-level initiative, permit me to use that expression. So that is why you see it being perpetuated and then continuing. They are not people that will reason, logically, say, look, let us look at the future or whatever. It will change. No. On the spot action, on the spot decision. So that is why you see it lingering along all these various lines. And of course, maybe people that are supposed to help the situation, they are not helping.
Okay. Ambassador, we've had this problem now for over a decade. And in the last dispensation, we know that a lot of money was thrown into equipping the armed forces to be able to take on these elements. But more and more, it looks like kidnapping is becoming a business. What do you think we should be doing that we're not doing to cut down on all these shenanigans of kidnappings and stuff like that?
Wow, thank you very much for this opportunity. I can see that it's a very sad morning. And even as we rise from the studio today, we'll hear more and more cases of innocent Nigerians becoming victims to kidnapping. Now, let us look at the decades of existence of this kind of criminality. And I want to take it back to the terms of the military regime. You know, during the times that we had military regime, you agree with me that the military could not, should not, and would not fund any other agency to be bigger and stronger than it. So we had the police being left just on the street with their condo, as we used to call it. Now, all the police stations were also underfunded. And when we brought in the democracy, most of the people that fought for democracy then were already making friends with military generals, you know. And coming into power, when we now enthrone democracy, instead of also enriching and making the police a very strong arm for deterrence, we embraced the area boys and the hoodlums, you know, and we started to make hoodlums to be stronger than the police. Now we have the case in our hands where most of the hoodlums, most of the criminal elements are also going into cultism. Cultism was another part of it that my brother in the studio with you there did not mention. He mentioned the ethnicity, religious affiliations, and we must agree that cultism is the one that embraces the two. There are cultists that are in the religious angle, that are also in the political angle, and the ethnic. You know, so this is one group that so many belong to, that they become lecturers and they become politicians, they become governors, they become the judiciary, you know, and we have not been able to communicate the need for the society to be able to enhance collaboration with the police. When the new IG came on board, like 3 months after he came on board, I think he was spitting fire and saying that he's going to do this and do that. But in one of my interviews, I mentioned that the new IG coming on board should begin to look at enhancing the category of people within the force. What is the entry criteria for the police? Can we up the bar? Can we go for OND holders as minimum? Can we up the bar? Can we go for the DPO becoming so and so category? You know, then the IG also have not looked properly into internal discipline. You know, internal discipline, because we have a lot of police compromising, we have a lot of military people compromising and partnering with criminals to enhance this kidnapping. So if you have looked at the internal cleansing, we would have been hearing of monthly dismissal of police officers. But what we see is when you see a viral video of a police officer or a military officer committing infringement on the citizens, that is when you will see the IG set up a committee to dismiss such an officer or demote. Then you also don't forget that everything about kidnapping is part of technology has been our problem. I have been involved in ransom delivery and rescue of kidnapped victims as a private security practitioner after I left the military. One of the constraints is that the banking process for the police to access information of bank accounts is so cumbersome. Then the technology to telecommunication, the phones used to communicate, it's also cumbersome. You know, then the communities where the kidnappers cohabit, you know, most of the communities now pay allegiance to the kidnappers, the bandits, and the terrorists, you know, because we have not looked at the distribution network of our police commands. We are supposed to have policing in a sector disparity to capture the population spread of Nigerians living in anywhere. You know, we're supposed to have a police command in certain places. You know, then we also look at the police also collaborating with the DSS and more, and the immigration to capture all of the people that are living around, to know who is a citizen who is not a citizen. So we have a lot to do that we have not touched.
General, the ambassador mentioned ransom, and he was part of delivering ransom to kidnappers at some point in his career before he left the country. If you recall, when our currency was changed, you know, earlier this year, one of the reasons given for the change of currency and then the limitations given to withdrawals, either from banks or from ATM, was to prevent such occurrences. How much do you think that worked?
Yes, I followed it closely then because of that reason, that one of the reasons why they did not want a lot of cash in the system was to curtail that or avert that. It was not averted, but it was curtailed. It worked. Why am I saying so? Like I told you earlier on, and I still keep saying it, at least I have some level of privileged intelligence. And even then, you would discover that kidnapping dropped to a reasonable level. Kidnapping dropped. Virtually the zones where you have them happening on almost on routine basis. I can tell you that there are some locations that I know around Benue side and all that, that it's like a routine basis road because of the road network and all. Once they slow down, they're just like people going to farm to go and pluck corn. These bad people will come out and they plug them. It happens, but it reduced and it eventually ceased. So it worked to an extent, but I think it has to be well packaged. And now to the contrary, now that you have some level of cash, you know, circulating almost whatever, they have even changed again. What they do now is that they will now ask for foreign currency. I tell you, there is a situation on ground now that they ask the families to go and bring foreign currency. So it worked. I can say it worked. For me, I stand to be corrected. Some people may say, but I monitored it and observed that once there was no much cash in circulation, kidnapping dropped, and then ransom requests also we are not noticed from my own observation, desk observation, and then contacts that I have, as it were.
Okay. General, allow me to go back to, you know, the conversation with the question around the politicization or a lack of it. You would remember at some point some governors in the north said that the reason, I think it was Governor El-Rufai at the time, that the reason the insecurity increased in the northwest was because governors in his day stopped making the necessary investments. I'm not sure which other governor said something as well that said that they know the people that were behind, you know, the insecurity in their environment at the time. So let me ask it pointedly. Are you saying that some politicians are behind the insecurity in some cases, or what percentage of this insecurity is by political actors?
My direct response also, like we say, is that I think it will not be fair for anybody to assume that any politician is behind insecurity directly in his own domain. It will be unfair because what they come to tell the people, to tell us, is that provide security, provide all the goodies and all, and if at all, like a governor, as it were, they mentioned that, well, I would say that he might have spoken out of, maybe for me personally, but not that he has gotten facts and figures. And from the level that I played for government as an active serviceman, I have no such proven evidence. And if you tell me, I will not believe it. Something like kidnapping. For ransom, kidnapping, and some people died here. No, I don't think I can, rate our politicians to that level now. But what maybe you are taking me on is like when I talk about political insecurities. That earlier on, I avoid anything direct politics as much as possible. That is, in the political system, are you secured? If you go there, I want to join politics now. That is, if you want nomination, is it going to be properly done? There's no security. That's what I'm talking about. It's not about the human security. No security, you have human security, food security, education security, health security, economic security. It is from that perspective that I'm talking about. But for you to say, or for someone to be out there and say, a politician or whatever, even the political class, this brazen, outright insecurity, human insecurity, kidnapping and all. No, I don't align myself with that. It may not be true.
Okay. But what about the herders and farmers clashes?
Herders and farmers clashes is real. It's real, and it's still on. Because I think even this morning I had cause to talk with somebody from a remote area, and he told me that it's still on. But for me, the case study, the place I actually looked that I'm seeing is even like Benue State, for instance. I'm from Benue. And of course, naturally, I should be following up issues. At least for now, because of the regulation and everything put in place here, it has been put into check to a large extent. But other areas where they are still paying protection money, they used to demand protection money for a long time before it came to the knowledge of the government, I can say that modestly is still on. They are still clashing. Why it may not be all overnight is that wait for harvest season. By the time the rains are over, I see a resurgence, if not properly addressed and handled from now. It can be, and it has to do, like I say, the whole set of society approach from now on.
Well, Ambassador, you know, we've been dealing with the issues, but the good question a number of people are still asking is, where is it all coming from? It wasn't this bad 20, 30, 40 years ago. And that's why a number of people are speculating that maybe it is these things, this insecurity in some cases are politically motivated. And the general has also spoken to the parochial interests of ethnicity, religion, and all those things that may sometimes be involved in this. What's your take on that?
Okay, thank you. And thank you, my Honorable General on the studio. Now, you see, one thing about kidnapping is that it has its own facets. There are kidnapped for ransom. There are kidnapped for vendetta. We also have kidnapped for ritual purposes. And, you know, if you look at the breakout of kidnapping in Nigeria generally, I think the whole thing started from all of the opportunities to exchange victims for interest. It started with prisoners of war, where you can pick people from the opposing or warring factions and exchange them for those of yours that are also arrested. You know, but today we see kidnap for ritual coming up also. And you can recall about what I told you about cultism, you know, kidnap for ritual, using human parts as a commodity, where people sell human eyes, they sell the human head, you know. And if you recall that native doctors and traditionalists have also been arrested for using these human parts for farms. And our kind of environment today, most of the political games we play is either by intimidation, coercion, or by traditional means, or by financial gratification. So we cannot rule out politicians from this influence on kidnapping, or the influence to give criminals opportunity to override the rule of law. Because so many local government chairmen, so many community heads have been arrested. We don't know the end of those cases today, you know, and they have been arrested for fueling, collaborating, and covering kidnappers, you know, and even in the religious group too, some pastors, imams have also been arrested and fingered for collaborating and covering the activities of kidnappers and bandits and hoodlums.
Ambassador, just 1 second. My apologies. We're running out of time. Let me quickly confirm that what you just said now with General. General, do you agree with the ambassador?
Yes, when he broke it down, you know, I am a trained teacher, some level a researcher, and you should conceptualize whatever you are saying. I think from the perspective for which I took it, is kidnapping for ransom. When you talk about ritual killers and all the other ones, they are on their own, if I were to have conceptualized them. And I was assuming that the focus of this discussion this morning is actually on the one for ransom taking specifically. Otherwise, all the other ones he mentioned, they are there. When we were even growing, we used to hear about, you know, using a human being for ritual, for sacrifice and all, which is still continuing. As I speak to you, I have a colleague whose father disappeared in Lagos. He's a major general, retired now. That was about over 40 years ago, and it has been there, and it's escalating. No doubt about that. So I agree with him from that perspective that they catch people, they kidnap people, steal people for other reasons. But he has bundled it, which is right. But for me, I looked at it from the perspective that, no, this one's for ransom and all manner, banditry and all. That was why, for me, I say I don't align myself with, you know, attributing it to politicians particularly.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we are completely out of time, gentlemen, but this is definitely a conversation starter, something that we have to step upon now that we know that these things do happen, because insecurity is usually just bundled into one word. Well, let me thank you, gentlemen, for your participation this morning. Major General John Enenche is former Director, Army Formation. He joined us from our Abuja studio, as well as Ambassador Oamen Roy Huidevie, National Secretary, retired members of the Nigerian Armed Forces, Remenaf. He joined us from Bronx in New York, USA. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen, this morning. So, well, that's that. Up next is the eye on a community in Osun State. That's right after now.